participation, and there are about 4 policies that are included in our new policy. I understand that there was that there is a communication situation that needs to be addressed. However, to move forward and to not prolong the agenda items for these policies, we are going to add them on tonight's agenda. So the 4 policies that need, well, actually it's 3, that need to be amended and added to the agenda are the 24 CGD, Administrative Personnel, and Instructional Resources, Community Instructional Resources. So those 3 we're going to add for discussion on tonight. And I can't forward this the email so that you'll be able to read it. Check out the awesome. Instructional resources. Instructional resources, community instructional resources. Second one, administrative personnel rights. So next on our agenda. So I'd like to make a motion to add those 3 policies. Alright, so now we will so at this time I will need a motion to approve the agenda. So have a second? Mrs. Holly? Who will be? Yes. Mrs. McGowan? Yes. Mr. Mitchell? Yes. Ms. Gus? Okay, at this time, we would like to open the floor for public participation. We ask that if you come to the mic and speak, please speak for 3 minutes. We will allow you to finish your last thought, and we are going to keep to those 3 minutes. We understand that you may have things to say, and we do appreciate your concerns, but we would like to keep that to 3 minutes. So when you come to the microphone, please state your name and your address. Do we have anyone for public participation? Okay, so we don't have anybody for public participation. We'll move to our discussion items. The first item on the agenda is curriculum, and I will turn it over to Ms. Patricia Robinson, who will discuss those curriculum items.
I have two items to bring tonight. So one is expanding Odyssey contract, and the other is the district improvement plan. So first item is the expanding Odyssey contract. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to preface this with that we seek guidance for this from our attorney somewhere. And because of this existing contract, we were able to bring this to you. We were able to bring this to you tonight. Okay, Odyssey, we have a Odyssey contract. And Odyssey is an online program that we have utilized for our supplements in our high school. We use it currently for graduate supplements. And we would like to extend this contract as well as the student contract. Recently, through our audit of the transcripts, we noticed some things and thought that for this work we could utilize this program to effectively and efficiently service more of our students in ways we control. Dr. Walker set up a webinar for myself and some of the pharmacy staff to actually go through the components of the program and to kind of get more familiar with what it has to offer. And through this training, we were able to see that we were able to customize our lesson plans, customize some of the lessons that are already in the program, and also notice what it has to offer for grade K through 5, and how we can utilize it for school year. And so what we'd like to do is implement this for K through 12, and then in K through 5, we're going to use this as a way to students use this incentive. Also for 6 through 12, which we use during the advisory time, 9 through 12 will also be used for credit recovery. One of the big things about this is it connects to our NWEA score, our upload our information into the school system, and it connects to our NWEA scores and actually creates a modified and a differentiated program for each of our students. So each of our students will have a differentiated program as they log into these software. Another big thing we want to use, another big way we want to use this is through our daytime intervention rooms. This will allow those students additional supplemental instruction as they go to those rooms. So because this program is designed for individual learning, as they log into this program, they're into those additional individuals, they receive instructional support within those rooms. So what you have in front of you is the focus. And the first part of it is BHAS says 2016 to 2017 grant pricing, and there's a price at the bottom. That is for the first year. And that is with a discount. Okay? And so the second page shows you a price, and that is with after our first year. So the price of the first year. And this will all be funded through Title I, which Title I supports supplemental curriculum that supports our curriculum. What questions do you have for me?
Mrs. Mommy?
Okay, if we approve this contract, is that include next year also, or we just do 16, 17?
We're just going to, as far as the grant goes, we can only go to the next one, for the next year, for the next page. That's the price we have for the next year, so that's what we're going to
We have to reapprove it.
Yes. Yes.
7 months to evaluate. And my only, I got concerns, they come in fixed rooms. I am assuming that there are safeguards in place because some of this stuff was used years ago and after this, so we had. And since we're put in front of computers, we're the person supervising playing on the phone. And I want to make sure this is going to be used properly.
Absolutely. So the focus of the daytime intervention room is on those students who are struggling socially, emotionally, behaviorally. So there will be times where students will be given the opportunity to access online learning. Absolutely. However, the structures that we are working under with the daytime intervention center being in the building, you have your building administrator, your instructional specialist that will provide support. We also have at the district level, Mr. Bledsoe, he will also provide oversight to these programs. So the monitoring of the staff and how they use their time weighs heavy on the responsibility of the administration to ensure that our children are getting the proper support. I think the structure that we're under, this is not like an in-school suspension room, although it could be. It's really designed to be therapeutic. So the people that are being hired, the goal will be to hire those with that therapeutic, social, emotional background to really help our children. The goal is to be an intervention, not a punitive site. So I wish that I could 100% guarantee no teacher will ever make that choice, but that could occur in any classroom, unfortunately, because of the nature of public education. So more purposeful supervision, monitoring, walkthroughs, those things that we're going to do going into this next year will be our safeguard to ensure that teachers and staff don't make choices like you just described.
Any other questions or comments concerning policy?
So I know that when I had the alternative school, I witnessed the kids using the program because it's really slow. So have we gotten up to speed as far as our computer technology to where actually the kids don't be frustrated and it takes a long time to load? Have we worked that out?
Well, if tonight is an example, I would say no. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say absolutely. Honestly, I know Ms. Lovelace is trying to work with the computers now. Being new on the scene, honestly, I really don't know the answer to your question. I don't know. My impression is we have definitely progressed with technology. I know that here we did some amazing work with New Tech in the past years to get labs and things available, and I've been in the classrooms and seen that technology work well. You see when we brought in the different computers and we're getting one, so clearly there's a connection with how we connect to the wireless and those types of issues. Because we really want to be a one-to-one district moving forward, we have the technology tools and we have the infrastructure. We just probably use more manpower, and Ms. Lovelace can come up and probably give us a laundry list of other needs to make us more efficient. I think this is the direction we want to go. Our children will know more than we do, and will probably help us. But I think if tonight is an indicator, I'm not going to sit here and say we will struggle. I think we clearly have some opportunities. But I think that once we get through those and we get to rolling, we have the technology, we have the infrastructure to provide internet, and we just have to get all these other pieces in place.
In addition to that, we also take them stuff online. And we also take our aid online. So are there some things, areas that we have to do that? Yes. We have to work out for an assessment period, but we actually works out for the year.
Any other questions? Next item on the agenda is the district improvement plan. Mrs. Watson.
BHAS. This is really a kind of information for you tonight. Take home or the home run plug in and kind of read through it. Dr. Rockland will.
You already got it on Friday, excuse me, just, you have this, so this is just, okay.
So Dr. Walker and I'm going to go through the more in depth for the next week, especially targeting the goals and walking you through what the plan is and all the stuff.
We just wanted to see if you had any questions tonight, if anything pressing that you want to make sure that we address. We wait until next week, so if you have something you wanted to know, we can bring that information back to you. This is a very thick document, as you notice. So we're going to, as Ms. Robinson said, highlight those key components. We are really happy to tell you that we got an email. Is that your mayor actually? Yes, as well. That we have been approved, and you want the audience to know we've been approved by the Department of Education for our district improvement plan. This is a huge hurdle for the Benton Harbor Area School District in a great celebration. So we do hope to bring you key pieces of this next week. We're excited.
Awesome, good job. Any questions concerning this from the board, or do you guys need to wait till next week until they present? Okay. So the superintendent just stated that you can email questions in advance of next week's meeting, okay? To answer questions on the district improvement plan. So business and finance, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I have a few comments regarding the summary and detailed budget reports. These reports are dated June 30, but these are not the year-end final budget reports for the 2015-16 year yet. In the business office, we'll be making additional journal entries to adjust, to record revenue and expenditures that are related to 2015-16 fiscal year, or the year-end closeout process. And we've included some notes explaining the overages in some functions. And we'll be happy to respond to any questions you have regarding financial reports. These were provided to the Finance Committee last week.
Any questions? And go ahead, Mr.
There was a transfer from the sinking fund to the general fund that was due to as part of last year's audit closeout process. It was noted that the sinking fund owed the general fund, and this journal entry that was made, or this payment that was made recently, was to make that payment. We'll also have some additional transfers from service fund to the general fund in June and July, in July and August.
Any other questions concerning the monthly financial report? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, on the tax anticipation, there's no resolution to focus this evening. However, after the meeting, we'll request signatures from a couple board officers, the president or the vice president and the secretary, related to the state aid anticipation. Those documents are pending signatures, and those are very important for state aid note that we'll be receiving later this month. Sinking fund?
So we'll sign those after, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Sinking fund?
Sinking fund, the district has a building and site sinking fund millage, and this millage will expire after the levy in July of next year. So the operations committee has recommended that a request be presented to the voters to renew this millage, and that this request be placed on the November 2016 ballot. So we'll be bringing a recommendation for
Any questions or concerns about the sinking fund? Mrs. Montgomery?
So you're saying that the sinking fund started in July of 17?
Yes.
Okay, so clarify.
Next items pertain to facilities. We have a proposal for some fencing replacement. And we also have, that's included in the package. There are two proposals. One is for $5,422 and the second proposal is for $3,863.
Any questions concerning the fence proposal from the board? Jim? That's the lower level and upper level? Okay.
It's intended to improve security and aesthetics, and there may be some sections of the fencing that safety. Bird fencing.
Jim, look.
The recycling bin now that comes out of this that's being recycle everything that is the metal that gets removed and replaced.
We have to ask the fencing contractor if that's possible.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Johnson?
The next item is a recommendation regarding the high school gym roof replacement. Mr. Jeff Solar from Adam Marsh is here. Mr. Saylor, I'm sorry. From Adam Marsh to provide additional information on this. And the third floor ceiling in the high school. Invite him to the table.
Does it work? Yes, sir. Okay. Gymnasium roof. Bids were received, I believe it was on July 8th. On your attachments that just passed out, there's a bid tabulation form on the second page. Kind of itemizes who we got bids from, their amounts. The first page is basically a summary of the low bidders and what it means, and, how it adds up. Before we get into that, I thought I would just overview these bids that were received. We asked for separate bids for the roof replacement, which is a significant project because it's not just the roof, it's the structural deck that the roof is sitting on. That deck is in very poor condition. If you would walk in the gym, you'd see most of the fasteners are working their way through that roof. Some are already through that deck. So we're looking at a significant number to basically remove that structural deck, replace it with a new steel deck, then put down a new roof. We're also looking at having the contractors have to take due care to protect that gym floor so that it doesn't get wet. I mean, you can imagine what kind of challenge that's going to be. And there are significant dollars in this bid for this contractor to protect this roof while they're removing it. Basically, they'll take this roof off in probably sections of 1,000 to 1,500 square feet per day, replace that
Here they just removed the new structural deck and temporary roof. They have to do that, for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, until they got the entire roof deck removed and replaced before they put the new roof on the gym. I think we had a similar issue to this working school. I think it was before Steve retired. We had the deck fail during the process of the roof being replaced. The roof that's up, this structural deck that's on there is kind of a rare animal. It's a mix of cement and gypsum material, lightweight concrete, what it is, on top of a very lightweight formboard. It wasn't used very often. Unfortunately, it was used on this gym. And we're forced to replace it as well as this roof. So we received only one bid from the general contractor to attack the roof. We received 2 bids from heating ventilating contractors and 2 electrical contractors. Now the heating ventilating bids and the electrical bids are related to new heating systems in the gym. Presently, you have a system that is less than 100% functional. One of the air handlers, there's 2 main air handlers that feed that gym, and one of them does not function. So the roof has basically been heated at 50% capacity for the last year or 2. That's why people are going to basketball games with coats on. So we're putting on new rooftop heating units also in this process, and we're dealing with all the necessary electrical work that goes with that. So it's quite a large and complicated project, as you can see by the dollar amounts. On the summary sheet, I guess I should add that we checked references on all the contractors. We weren't familiar with the low bidder for the roofing work, but the references were good. That particular contractor not into it, but he came from a very good background of working in very large construction management firms, working on projects probably 3 to 4 times the size of this one. And his current, he's been in business for a year, and we checked out all of his references. And we had glowing reports, both as a contractor and from an integrity standpoint. So we're comfortable with this contractor. The other contractors you're very familiar with were the low bidder. The mechanical contractor completed the work at the second floor of the BHAS, and the electrical contractor is a local contractor that we've worked with on projects before for the last 20 years. So very familiar with the account. The summary sheet, I'm trying to keep it streamlined here, kind of tells you what all those numbers mean. And we had a combined bid of these 3 of $889,486. Now we asked also for these contractors to price options that would add air conditioning. The base bid was for heating only. And you see that for an extra $102,000, the gym could be air conditioning. We also asked them would it be just made the commitment to never air condition this gym, and we went with a little different rooftop units, or rooftop units, 2 of them. We went with units that are designed only for heating. There's no potential to add air conditioning later. And the savings, the alternate that we received savings was almost $40,000. So very bottom of that sheet shows that if you went with air conditioning on this project with these heating units, we'd be spending over $1 million. Whereas if we decide right now that we don't want to air condition this gym ever, we're about $150,000 plus or minus below that amount, $849,000. Many gyms in the area are not air conditioned. So that's something you have to wrestle with. If you want that gym to have that, we did design those heating units so that air conditioning could be added at a later date. If you don't want to accept the credit of $40,000 and just go with the $889,000, those units can be added onto later with more equipment. And we can have air conditioning in that gym at a later date. So we try to offer flexibility with these bids, give you options. But if you would like to attach yourself to that $40,000 credit, get the number as low as possible, you're going to get the commitment that at least for the next 20 or so years, the gym will never have air conditioning. So that's it in an overview. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mrs. Molly?
If we need to visit residents, and particularly the original, like the same system.
The new roof structural system is much different. It's a conventional steel, it's corrugated steel that you would see in 99% of most buildings with a roof like that. Not this product that it was a flash in the pan in the 50s, 60s. That would never, we're not repeating that mistake. No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Mitchell?
I think that the committee, when they originally talked through this whole book situation, we said, well, here's some numbers for price maybe two of them. But we just want to see what they come in at. They were very comfortable with this new owner for that area. But in order to understand, you have to understand that the boiler room, the piping, everything that we had to do is suspect and still needs to be built. So we're just eliminating that type of floors from right the other wall.
Any other questions? So I think you're still on deck for the third floor. Sylvan?
I wasn't prepared to answer any questions on the third floor. I think we're still looking at pricing on that. It's a cosmetic issue. We've got basically these cloud ceilings up there that don't cover the entire ceiling. And where we don't have the cloud ceilings, we have old plaster that's failing. And in hindsight, maybe in the entire area there should have been a monolithic ceiling, but that's water that's already passed under the bridge. Now we're dealing with a situation where we have these clouds floating in there, these cloud ceilings, and we have some open areas with no ceiling in them. We had forwarded a drawing to Pioneer Construction, who's finishing up with labs, and asked them to give us some pricing to put in some additional suspended ceilings kind of to cover the areas that were not covered by the clouds. We haven't seen that number yet from Pioneer. So if we would get something in the next couple of days, we'd be happy to forward that to the board to Steve. That's all I can tell you on that.
So we do have a number here, Scott.
I think that's a preliminary number.
Is that preliminary?
I think we wanted them to verify a few things on that, so I think that was a not to exceed number. We were hoping to get that number to come down.
So, Mr. Johnson, parking lot sealed at all 4 schools. Would that be out of March as well?
Mr. Saylor's colleague was working on that.
We do not have pricing on that. We're anticipating having those prices in Friday to move forward before the bid packet. It's a bad time of year to ask asphalt sealers for a price. We're probably pretty sure we're gonna get at least one bid. Whether we can get two or three, just given the nature of where we are in the season, that might be a bit of a challenge. And I might also report that we're receiving bids Thursday morning for emergency repairs at the stadium. There's a sidewalk section in front of the concession stand. The concession stand in the first row of visitor seating that has a hole in it. And there's a foot or two of missing earth underneath that concrete. And basically, the hole appeared a few months ago, but I think for a year or two, there's been washout. There's been soil eroding away under this walk. We've approximated the amount of earth or sand being put in that hole, and we're getting pricing from contractors to remove that concrete from the concession stand. Refill that area and replace the sidewalk. And we're also going to add a drain in the walk that isn't there right now, so that we keep this water from getting under this concrete. So that number will be something else we'll probably see before that. Will be collected and reached Friday morning, making a replication within a few hours.
Okay, so the board's gonna receive stadium sidewalk work,
Yes.
third floor, and also all 4 parking lots.
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
That is something that we have to figure in the regions around here. So, but we have any contact support work, this was the police staff, and then the other company. So they're regional, very well on that. The asphalt streets to the south, you go like that, high school and all that, they're very, very close. We're going to do that, good reflection on commercial. We need to do something about outside. That's why we're doing this. It's been on the drawing board.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Anyone else? Questions or comments concerning the parking lot? If not, we'll go to human resources, personnel, and salaries for CTE staff. Linda Hurwell.
Mr. Johnson's going to help me here, so check that out. So you will see when you click on the link for the personnel that we have been busy over the last 2 weeks. And so what we have new for you is a memo, an employment memo on each staff member that gives you all the information about them, where they're coming from, what their education is, their experience, and all the necessary information, certifications, things like that. Let's see if I can get this to go.
So while Ms. Herlo pulls that up, want to share with the board that you'll note recommendations of you for the administrative positions and the K2, 3, 5 positions as the board approved by the board. But you'll note there is no recommendation for the CAO position. Instead, we have a recommendation for the high school that we speak to later, but you'll note that as well. And then for the pre-K grant and homeless and volunteer position, when the plans were made through the financial operating plan and through our school planning, we did not have certain variables, and one of those was Dream, the acquisition of Dream. So what I'm asking of the board, and will save about $40,000, and also help us to get some structures in place, is to take that K2 pre-K position, pre-K grant position, and kind of break that out, because we need oversight for Dream out of the district. And Ms. Gully had asked in the prior meeting and gave me a handout about alternative programming. And with the things that I have learned working with the transcripts and just learning around our work, we really have some great opportunities to bring to our community some wonderful alternative programming. So to help us succinctly, efficiently, can't find my word, I'm sorry, create these programs and structures for our children and to provide the leadership that's required to implement and to save the district money, we're actually going to take that one position and split. And it'll save us money because we already have a position in Dream that we would have filled that we're not going to fill. And this position of alternative program coordinator, I think is alternative coordinator, is what I'm asking the board to allow us to do instead of hiring the principal / superintendent position at Dream, and to swap that position for one that will be more beneficial to the district at large and to all children around that alternative idea. So Ms. Herbo is going to explain it probably way better than me, but I want you to know that that was a purposeful recent development, because in looking at us acquiring Dream and how to make sure and ensure what we have to do, we really have to rethink how we were structured, and yet always trying to save money.
So when we got the board approval for the pre-K Student Support Services Administrator, what Dr. Walker has done is taken that position and split that so that we have a pre-K alternative education coordinator and then a student services / grant specialist. And by doing that and eliminating that administrative position at Dream with the oversight that Dr. Walker is going to give, that will net the district around $40,000 in savings. So that's really where this is coming from. You'll see you have the human resources update on there, and then multiple attachments. Those attachments are those employment memos for you that give you all the information on the people that we are recommending to you and that we're asking for you to vote for next week. I'll go through the human resource update. We have some administrative recommendations, and we are really excited about the team that Dr. Walker is putting together, and I'm really honored to bring these names before you today that have been through a committee of people, have gone through 2 lots of interviews. Our teachers have all taught a lesson. We have included staff, parents, and administrators on the team to interview the first round and look at the lesson. And with the administrators, we've had a second round in which the administrative team has had that group also do a performance event. So just want to let you know, we are very excited. We've checked references, and this evening, the administrative recommendations will be as follows. We are recommending Mr. Donald Pearson to be the interim principal at the high school. Jennifer Roy, actually it's Lane Roy, to be the principal for the K2 building. Rita CA to be the pre-K and alternative education coordinator. John Van Dyke to be the principal for the 3-5 building, and Clea the Nichols to be the student support and grant specialist. Student support meaning our homeless and volunteers. Our instructional staff recommendations, we are excited to bring before you 5 teachers. Vashti Ward for the math teacher at the high school. Cynthia Kotenko, dual language teacher in the K2 building. Cintoya McCall, Spanish teacher at the high school. We have a little bit of a typo there. Phyllis Ohanwu, a special education teacher. And Peggy Kropinski, also as a special education teacher. At the time that we provided this to the board, we also had 2 resignations. I did get another resignation today, so that would be on the list. But the current resignations that we have are for Catherine Knott. Her resignation was effective July 20. She was a special ed teacher for us. And Kelly Westgate, she also resigned yesterday, and she was a special education teacher. Both of those 2 ladies have taken positions elsewhere. That is it for the personnel section.
Any questions concerning personnel, Mrs. Mountain?
Okay, so do we need to reapprove these job descriptions? Mrs. Williams?
Well, that's kind of what we're asking. Having that one job description, we're going to read the split of the two, correct? And we will have that for you.
Because what's in the one description really is what, part of what each one will do, what we have to bring to you is how would the alternative piece work for the one person. The other position is still the same, it's just grant time, we're gonna support Ms. Robinson for a grant anyway, so we just split it to save money. It was just an opportunity to save money, and still provide the right supports for the kids. We need a grant writer, there are opportunities out there, so that's what Ms. Nichols brings, plus she's already been our homeless coordinator, and she will take on volunteers. So the position itself was embedded in the other job description, we just took the pre-K piece out and put it over here with this other position to give more opportunity to grant writing. We're just trying to do a forward split of that position, and then have this person in the CA who has had tremendous administrative experience work with an alternative program.
And she has a special education background.
Huge special education background. Really excited about what we're going to do with alternative care. So I think you guys will like it.
Andrew? So the question was about the part-time grant writer, I think that we have.
We have a grant specialist that also runs the numbers for, does a lot of the bookwork for Mrs. Robinson, and also helps in the business office too. And helps with 21st Century, the title, and also in the business office. And Mrs. Robinson is needing some additional help with the grant work that needs to be done.
And yes, going into the position, looking at what he had to offer, the first thought was to have the grant writer position. But as he got more into the job, the skill sets that he has became more apparent to us, that it was more of more support with leaving the numbers and getting that straight with the title, as well as with 21st Century and as well as with the business office. So really capturing his strengths and working with the strengths of what he had to offer for our district and what he had to offer for our department.
Any other questions? Mrs. Hurlow?
Okay, and then the next item, the last item we have for human resources is salaries for the CTE instructors. One thing I would like you to know is that during the negotiations, the CTE instructors were removed from the teacher bargaining unit. These are our staff that provide our CTE classes. And so what you have before you is a list of the instructors that we currently have. There are 246 of them. And what I did was put where they were salary-wise, what their daily rate was, their education, just so you know. We have some updates to that. I believe everybody there has a bachelor's except for one of the people, so just we need to update that for you yet. I run a 1% raise, that is what we gave for our non-bargaining staff. The CTE instructors will now become part of the non-bargaining group of people. That's people who aren't covered by a master agreement. As you know, our teaching staff, we gave more than a 1% raise to as we did that. And so Dr. Walker had me run a cost for you on what it would be for a 3% raise. We didn't, we thought that we wanted to be equitable in how we treated them as we treated our teachers also. And so I did a cost analysis for you on a 3% raise. And this evening, Dr. Walker would like to recommend to the board that they consider a 3% raise for the staff, the CTE instructors. We are in the process of transitioning them over to the non-bargaining staff. That means they will have the same health insurance as all the non-bargaining staff do. And so that will start on September 1. So we're in the process of transitioning them over. And our recommendation for next week, at least Dr. Walker's, is that the board would consider a 3% increase for the CTE instructors.
Mrs. Geller?
So, the decision to take them from the union, how did that come about?
So that decision wasn't a decision that the district had. That was a decision that the union came to the table with, a recommendation. You know, when you negotiate, there's give and take, and that was something that was brought to the table. And the district agreed to, obviously.
Any other questions concerning the seat? Mrs. Motley?
As we go through the year on these, my hope and my assumption is that we're going to monitor this, make sure we're getting the bang for the buck, and that we've invested in the correct programs that, you know, we're accomplishing what we say we're going to accomplish with CTE, and that's just so we can have it, that's what's effective with students.
And again, you know, absolutely. However, realistically, I'm still learning, just to be brutally honest, I'm else to be. I'm still learning CTE in Michigan. I think one of the advantages to what we're proposing is so that Ms. Robinson can be freed up from some of the grant responsibilities, which are immense, so that we can provide more leadership. With Ms. Dudley moving into the assistant principal role, but still having oversight to CTE. We, as a leadership team, really need to continue to work with the staff, and I met with them last week when I learned the depth of the predicament they've been in, just to try to understand it. They will tell you I didn't quite understand CTE all of it and how it works, but they are teaching you. I'm learning. What I can say to you is, do I believe it will be accountable? 100%. Can I speak into that at this moment? Honestly, I cannot. So I am very dependent on the structures that we're putting in place to ensure fidelity to instruction. The PD that we've done this summer, they've been involved in. The expectation of improved student achievement that everyone is hearing, those type of variables I'm counting on, but the depth of what I think you're asking for us as leadership, I honestly will tell you we're not there, because I know I don't understand it. So I can't ask questions about things that I haven't mastered yet. So it is on my list. It will be through Ms. Robinson, gaining a better understanding for her as well, coming from the kindergarten, elementary level. She doesn't have that depth of knowledge, but our mentors, Dr. Markovich, that Treasury is providing, has a really good understanding, and she's helped us to ask the questions and to think things through, to look at staffing. She's the one that's really led us, and Ms. Lynch, who is also our principal coach. So we do have supports in place to help us, but honestly, in the scheme of what we focused on, it's not been at the top of the list. So we are committed to your question. You know, we agree we want to ensure that our children have what they need. And we want to ensure that when they leave our high school, whether it's a CTE class or any other class, that they get core instruction at the level they should have it. So I think your request is really about us instructionally, our integrity as a district. Truthfully, CTE is just not tiny piece, but it's significant. So I hope that helps you feel better, because I really honestly can't give you a copy. But I will, it's coming, because we do need to truly effectively evaluate all of our programs. CTE being one of those.
Are you finished, Mrs. Martin? Yes, ma'am.
So do you have like marketing plans to boost to those programs?
Again, I don't know the answer to that. We are working on the marketing our district at large. And so the specific focus on CTE is not there. Our really primary focus in our marketing is our K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12 structure, with each of those promoting some specific aspect, like the K2 being the dual language school and access to that cultural piece, you know, that piece of 3-5 technology. So we haven't zeroed in yet on what CTE really can offer. I think for me, I'll give a testimony. When I was at the graduation, you know, I heard testimony from kids that really have benefited from what they got from CTE. I also, I'll speak to this more, my superintendent's coming on Saturday, met with some alumni, 2005-ish graduates, and they spoke about the experiences that they've had at the high school, and CTE, these type of experiences are what have them successful today. So I think that we have informal information that we can share with people, which I think the depth and end of what we can really propose to our community. We have to harvest that in, we have to build better understanding of their work at the leadership level. We have to really dig in and understand all the aspects of CTE and give it more purposeful attention and direction, and we're not there yet.
Mr. Mitchell?
The interest of being a great student in our professional development series, obviously, through this.
Okay. You got a problem. Can you hear? Well, so he had to speak in the mic. I can't control that. So, Mr. Mitchell, would you speak in the mic?
Okay. In the interest of our professional development training that we've been going through over the past months, I will speak to the superintendent personally about the questions that I have.
Thank you. And I would make a recommendation or suggestion that I know August 4th is going out for a recruitment effort, and that we include CTE in that recruitment package, as well as when parents come in to enroll their kids, just like Lakeshore Schools and St. Joe, they have those added like CTE, band, sports, etc. in their packages. So that needs to be inclusive so that parents know what we have to offer. So if we're going to go door to door, let's help.
Absolutely, we do need to develop, like I said, I'm still taking it all in, and I just want to comment on, we have several of our CTE staff here tonight, which I think is admirable, and we appreciate them being here. They often are here at the meeting, so yeah, I think it goes back to that collaboration that I mentioned, that as a leadership team, we really do need to invest more understanding in our own personally, but I'm not ever taught. I love as a viable tool for our children. I think you'll find as we progress in our time here as leadership that we will be able to answer these questions with great fidelity and evidence outcomes. I do believe that.
Thank you. Anything else, Mrs. Furlow?
That's it, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So next on the agenda, Central Administration, Dr. Walker.
Thank you. So Coach Userlike agreement, if you click on the link, you'll be able to see it. It was provided to you last week. It's in draft form. I had an opportunity to talk with Coach Userlike a couple of times since I have been here, and fortunately, all of the subcommittee came to meet with me last week to just validate my understanding, and I felt like it would be helpful to our organization at large to put in writing, because he was not actually a staff member, because we're not paying him. When he came on board last year, what was committed to him on behalf of the district. So what you have in front of you are those 5 areas that he's communicated to me, as well as the board, which is nice because it's relatively consistent. And I think that if I fall off the edge of the earth, or if anyone of the board members do, he is not in the position I feel he was in with me, trying to help me understand something that I couldn't find written anywhere. So I'm proposing to you that you would sign off on this agreement that was made with him, along the lines of him coaching for not collecting pay and what he would need to lead the way of the football team. So that's what that document is.
Any questions concerning this agreement?
Vice President,
Mr. Mitchell, go ahead.
just for the full board's information, if you don't remember, when this was undertaken, there were 3 board members that met with Coach Userlike, that was myself, Shannon Robinson, and Vice President Taylor, and Cindy LaGrow.
Sharon James.
Sharon James.
Trustee Go. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Thank you. Abundant Life Ministries, we have, again, an attachment for you. I communicated with you through, I corresponded with you through the board process that this is a proposal that was submitted to request the lease of Sorter. And I know there was some conversation with our consultant who was not able to be here today, Dr. Weatherspoon. And ultimately, he is looking for Ben Harbor, as you know, to really present that full real estate plan, and this being a part of that plan. But I know that Ms. Seats, Commissioner Seats, and her team are ready to take action and move. So the operations committee, we discussed the need to reconvene and really try to get at that real estate plan as quickly as possible, and to really dot our i's and cross our t's. The bad news, we would have transitions. This is just my humble opinion. Me coming in February and Dr. Weatherspoon versus working with Ms. LeGros and Mr. Weatherspoon. Mr. Weatherspoon, Ms. LeGros, and now me and Dr. Weatherspoon. Fortunately, you have members of the operations committee that have been stable and constant. But just with all the transition, we don't have anyone overseeing facilities at large. The communication of information, I don't feel it's crisp in my understanding. So, but again, as you all know, Commissioner Seats, they've been asking for this facility, and I don't know if Mr. Taylor or Mr. Mitchell want to speak to it more from their role on the committee, but did not want to bring this to the board. The initial proposal was actually different from this one. The initial proposal, I believe, and Ms. Seats is here, and she might want to correct me if I'm not remembering, was more to either be given the building or buy it for like $1. That was the initial conversation. But then they've come back with this proposal that actually asks the board to consider a lease of about $300 a month, I believe, with some other conditions. So I don't know if you all want to hear from her, that would be beneficial, but they would like us to at least sort of to them based on what you have in front of you.
So, question, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Ms. Seats. Yeah. And so, is this your update? We have a proposal here. Is this the update proposal?
It was an updated proposal that was sent on 7/15/2016. And I was told to send it to a young lady from the office superintendent, and that should be the latest update after I visit our partners out in Washington.
Would you come forward, Ms. Seats? So this contract has April on it.
That was the initial submission. There was 2 amendments to that particular proposal. I could not change the date because this was the initial date. This is the second amendment to the proposal.
Would you come forward and examine it to make sure we have the right one in front of us? If not, we can always present that.
Okay, so the latest proposal is to buy the sorted elementary building for $500. She's received that. I will submit this to you, but, it looks like I got, an email on Friday with the newer proposal. They all look the same, so I guess the actual change is a line item change that says they are actually going to propose they purchase the building for $500. That's the third request, so it's evolved, right? I'm getting this right? Okay.
So, Mr. Mitchell, do you have a question?
This is the first I've heard about it. Anything that we do,
You should speak on mine.
anything we say or do, I want to make sure that we supplement, that you know, is involved in this. Ultimately, that's what he's here for. And so, but what we have is April 20th. Okay? And so if there's an amendment or whatever, we have to see this.
So the date is the same on all of them, so that's part of where it's hard to tell them apart. But my understanding is, so this one is for $500. What the board has to do through the real estate plan process is discern what you're going to do with all of the surplus property. And what we'll present is that if the board approves, that you would like to sell this for $500 if you so desire. I'll make sure you have the most recent one that has the $500 versus the $300 one that you have in front of you, and they're very similar, so make sure you look at the amount that says, proposal to buy, that part, that's the piece that's different. And it's a single line, so, then the board can decide if you're wanting to sell for $500 the building sort of. And then if so, we put that in the real estate plan as the entire package, so then be approved by the board, by Dr. Weatherspoon, and then by treasurer. That is my understanding of it. Okay. Does that help?
Mrs. Mumphrey.
Is this going to be an extended program?
I'm looking for guidance from you all.
Well, what's the date? So you have a week to, I think she has it right now, so she can send it to us. But, so per Dr. Weatherspoon, even if you got it right now on the agenda, what has to happen is it has to be a part of the real estate plan. It's not going to be concluded until September. So there's no action on it really right now because it has to go into the real estate plan. Tri-County Head Start has to be in the real estate plan, right? So even though we have a contract on the table, we have to put that in the real estate plan as well as this, as well as what we're going to keep, what we're going to put as surplus.
So at this point, we really don't know if this would even be in the real estate plan to be sold, or whether it would be approved by the state.
Well, it has to go through Dr. Weatherspoon first, and then it goes to the state treasurer, then it comes back to the superintendent and board for review. So what happens is the real estate plan, I think we already talked about before senior next month's school. The facilities operations committee, I think it's three properties that we discussed before that we were going to keep in the district. So I think there is something on the table. I think it just has to get finalized. So if it gets finalized, we have to include what we're going to sell, what we're going to lease, whatever it is.
Any contract we accept on the sale of buildings, the final sale has to be approved by the president.
Yes?
So make sure I understand.
So Angela, you look perplexed.
Yeah, I'm part of operations, and this is a surprise to me. I was under the impression that we don't have a plan yet. That was something that was going to be worked on, and when it was completed, we were able to convene as a committee and look at it. None of that has happened. I'm confused why we're even seeing this.
Well, I think Ms. Seeks did come to the operations and facilities because you were there when she approached, right, with her proposal. That's been some months ago. So she did come because she had to come to the committee before you can come to the board table, correct?
I have not discussed
what's going into the real estate proposal, which has not happened.
Right, and so that's coming up, and myself and Mr. Mitchell went to Sawyer because they had people come over from DC. We just let him in, Mr. Mitchell, since he's the head of committee, he was there for questions concerning this matter. So, but we still, to your point, don't have a full real estate plan, and the instructions is that we have to include, even if it's this, so even if that's the will of the board to add Sawyer Schools, you still have to add Tri-County, all of these things have to be added to the real estate plan.
I understand that, but I don't think we should vote on it. That doesn't seem correct.
We don't have to vote on it. And now that you have it's the will of the board, right? So we don't have to vote. But now you have new documentation that will be presented to you tonight or tomorrow to look at.
And then
Mr. Mitchell?
If we're receiving this as an information item this evening for future deliberations and place in the plan, and that's the proper procedure for moving forward. This isn't something that's going to be action item next Tuesday, but something that we will consider as the plan is developed.
Right, because our plan is due in September, so whatever we decide has to be in that plan. Even if it's this or right now. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I just want to say the seats. The idea of the methods, I love it. We just want to make sure we get our T's crossed and our I's dotted, but I don't think we do enough to support our veterans, and I think this is a wonderful idea, an opportunity for our veterans.
And just to make myself clear, I'm not trying to stop anything, but anything that goes forward, I want to make sure that the state of Michigan Treasury, that we satisfy what they say we're going to do.
Right, and that's why Mr. Weatherspoon responded, because I sent an email and said, check this out, because we don't want to do anything incorrect. And so then he gave those instructions to myself and the superintendent, moving forward with the real estate plan. Trustee Monkey? I'm sorry. Gully?
Okay, I guess, so, before we act on anything, we have to have a plan. Is that what you're saying? Because, okay, so I know that it was presented to the Commission of Texas. I guess this is what my confusion about it. So they're gonna turn it over for whatever presented to get money to demolition it. That was on our ancestral property. You understand? I know it's a good thing for us to get that. It's not our responsibility or whatever, we got that money for that, but it's still like not a plan. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So I guess that's where I don't see,
I need some background on the Texan situation. Last year, in operations committee, we discussed to demolish the Texan because of the condition it was in and the unsafe condition it was in. At that time, there were grant funds available through the state, through the land bank, Green County Land Bank, which I'm a member of. And so Mr. Earl came to the land bank and wanted a partnership between the Hunter Schools and land bank for the purposes of trying to apply and get the grant for demolition. Because demolition isn't part of the safety funds, allowals, but if there's grant money that can be used rather than using our dollars, we thought we should try to do that. Well, the first round of grant funding, we got turned down. This time around, they reserved some funds for that project, and we were awarded $68,000 for the demolition. And if you've driven down there, you can see what I mean. It really is. But that's how the Texan got taken off.
Go ahead, Superintendent.
So if I could, I think you guys are not as confused as you may feel, as it is more just a lapse of time. And the changes that have evolved from my lens, that make it feel confusing. There was a group of people, all the time, you've spoken to, that really had kind of talked through a plan. Treasury was not supportive of some of the things that we as a board wanted to, as the district wanted to do. And the board wanted to keep the land, the farming land, the board, not wanting to sell things underpriced. So back in, what was it, April, May, when we renegotiated the consent agreement, and we had conversations about real estate, that's what made that first plan that you guys know you worked on kind of go on hold is my term I'm going to use. Not necessarily obsolete, but now we've had an opportunity to revise and rethink that, which the operations committee has not done yet. We have done some things toward that. So for example, Mr. Mitchell took me and Mr. Johnson out and toured the district and showed us the facilities to help us and our understanding of the district's property, so that when we meet with the operations committee, which I'm going to propose as next week, to start, we talked about in our last meeting, just one meeting on the real estate plan to really kind of dot the i's and cross the t's on this. And as Vice President Taylor mentioned, the Tri-County, which I'm going to speak to as well, I'll just throw it in, the Tri-County change, because looking at them being at the kindergarten center and realizing that that might not really be the best plan, because we can revise the real estate plan where the district was back here and negotiating property and where we are now really does look different. And we just want to step back and take the time to make good decisions about our property and ensure, because of our debt deficit and the cost and maintaining the properties, that we are purposeful and efficient in how we do this. So the cease proposal, which has been on the table since April, when I came, I remember her bringing it to me, and the intent to use it, the delay has been a multitude of factors, and we do, the seats appreciate your patience and working with us because of all of our change and involvement as a district in doing this work. So you really are not as confused as it feels. It's just the variables have changed. And so we wanted you to be aware of this request. Clearly didn't have the right amount that they wanted to purchase it for, but the request is still the same. They would like sort of, what I'm hearing is that for next week, we're not trying to vote yes or no to your request, but we will put it in the plan, which we will bring to you at the September 2nd meeting. We'll have it done by then to vote on the September 9th, whatever the dates are, because it's due September 30th. So we're in a good position. We just reposition. So you're really not confused. It's just things are changing, and we want to rein all of that in and come back to you with a very clear outline now that we're kind of stabilized. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Ms. Seeds. I think the next item is just the board rooms.
So it's Debbie and Ms. Debbie in the audience today. Thank you all for joining us. They've been working with us, and when we go through our work and so that we definitely want to vote to confirm the board norms and the agenda. You already seen it, but you have it, and the request for next week would be to adopt these as structures to define our work.
Any questions concerning the board norms we talked about in the MASD training? So I do, Deb, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have a question. So we have returning board members because there were only 4 people to run for office, and one of the people is Mrs. Gavin McAdoo. So since we're having a training August 23rd, could we include her because we want to train, and we also get her caught up to speed on some of the paperwork and documentation that we've already done thus far, so she can be caught up in her training.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So the transgender law, it was advised, I went to a conference for a couple weeks back, and it was advised through the law firm that presented, actually law firm, that every superintendent make sure your school board is aware of the transgender law. Now, I will tell you all that in Missouri, we had a really big case on this. We actually had a 3rd grade student who was born a male, but identified as a female, and it was quite the experience, to say the least, in terms of use of restrooms, athletics, and this was just a third grader. The bullying that can come. So as I'm catching up on Michigan law, and when I've attached for you all, this is for the Department of Education, what I could find that's the most recent communication out of the source that I felt would provide the best guidance to us, although, we have some other resources that may, SB and MASA may have some opinions out there. I'm still learning. But the transgender law has to do with how students identify themselves and how the district is supporting them, because you have rights that these students have that we don't discriminate. And unfortunately, there are those who would identify or perceive that students who are choosing to identify differently, they unfortunately do get bullied, harassed, neglected. And so a part of our work, and it'll be through the operations committee, we need to have conversations about, do we have restrooms that are male-female, so that anyone can go in, how are we, as we look at our facilities, responding to this change and incorporating it based on the Michigan law. So just wanted to fulfill that expectation that I began to present information to you about the transgender law as it evolves in Michigan, and as I learn to ensure that we are meeting, state, federal guidelines around compliance and non-discrimination.
Any questions?
So, are you saying that the law passed?
I'm not saying either, when you read that, from what I'm still learning it, because apparently in Missouri, we're more advanced in Missouri, yes. I don't think so here in Michigan, from what I can read, from what I'm reading, it sounds like it's in the courts, from what I can read. I read a couple articles on it, but I think it's something that is a big item that's coming and could pass, and so it was advised that we just make sure we make you aware that this could happen, and if so, we need to be ready to respond. So being proactive, putting it before you, giving you the chance to think about it is, I agree, a good move, which is why I put it out there so early. But I don't think in Michigan, you all are working on Missouri, you actually have to provide transgender bathrooms. We have to provide things that support students and families that may be characterized as such.
So in your experience in to Missouri, did it come through a policy, or was it, how was it imposed on your district?
The law imposed it, and then we had to produce policy to support. So how are we going to enact the law by the law policy? So they were married. So the law said that transgender rights are rights that have to be recognized, and because of that, and the bathroom is a quick and easy big example, but it's just one of many, where we then had to look at our facilities and designate restrooms that could be used by, instead of just having boy or girls, you might have a family restroom like that.
So you can have like one stall and two people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the door would lock, one family. I think it's an operations committee piece in terms of knowing the facilities and having conversations. If this becomes a law, how do we make sure that we're responding appropriately, and where do we, and what structures should we put into effect? And I was listening to these same students on Saturday when I met with them, the ones who graduated. This is a big deal. They were talking about it. It's real in our children's lives. There are many, many people, particularly young, that are identifying opposite to how they are born. I was really fascinated by what I was hearing. And so as a board and as a district, we need to respond to this up and coming group of young people.
I think to the board, there was talk of this coming out at the Fed level, so if it comes from the federal government, it's going to supersede the state anyways, right? So it's just a way for us to be aware of it, and to get ready in case it does come. Any other questions on this matter? Dr. Walker?
So I'm going to ask Trustee Gully to join me on this next one. This is the Neola draft. So as you all know, prior to my arrival, the board, and from what I got from Keith Kanarska at Neola, said that in December, Neola was brought on by the board to be adopted as a source of policies. And so, a month ago-ish, we got the revised or updated adjustments to those policies. We submitted some changes and things like that, and then the final draft of the draft, so as the chair of the policies committee was received. And so the next step would be for the board to then approve that. As you know, again, through the consent agreement, we have to adopt a Neola policy or policies, some new policies. We have to do that. And then, as you remember at the beginning of the meeting, Secretary Gilbert asked that the board also add 3 more policies that she did not find in Neola. So this is to bring before you. The idea would be that on next week you would vote to adopt or finalize your adoption. We've actually gotten the link to go online with these policies. It's very exciting, and they will be on the website, and we'll be able to use technology as well to support this work. Ms. Kelly?
Yes, to speak to the NEO policies, spoke with Keith, and what he advised is that we adopted the NEO policies. So what we'll have to do is re-adopt the NEO policies again. So we're gonna have to vote on them, and we are going to include the 3 policies that were not allowed through the manual, and I didn't see those. We did, before obtaining Neola, we went through True Law Firm and got the approval for every policy that we amended from the attorney from the law firm. So I understand there's some questioning around that, but that's a little addressed once it's brought forth. However, we have to move forward with these policies, and then we'll make the adjustments later on. So before you, I sent personnel hiring. I mean, not to amend, to add, Ministry of Personnel hiring, the swimming pool, because there was no swimming pool policy, and also the internal resources, community resources allocation. So we have to amend the policy to address that, and then do so. However, we're going to move forward with these years. And you have to go to adopt that with those additions. Thank you.
Any other questions on policy? Dr. Walker?
Thank you. Next week, we'll ask you to vote to approve a Title IX coordinator. This is another recommendation from the ones that we really should have someone identified. And so I will have a step asking you to identify who that serves our Title IX coordinator. And that just means that families or students feel that something has happened to them in violation. They have someone in the district to go to, advocate with them and address their concerns.
Go ahead, Mrs. Mama.
Is this a new position, or is this just for designating someone as the person?
Correct. It's not really a position, it's a responsibility that we have to have someone identified in the work that we have Mr. Brooks doing. It fits under his umbrella, so he really should be our Title IX coordinator, as he does work with our student and parent plans.
Ms. Scully?
Have you identified the Title IX coordinator? So we just will approve that person.
Correct. I am suggesting to the board that our Title IX coordinator be Robles, so then you're going to approve that suggestion next week.
All right, thank you.
Yes. School reform office meeting, I shared with you all, just want to make sure everybody is really abreast of the depth of the seriousness. I sent you another article yesterday maybe. Middle Cities has taken an active role and concern with the school reform office / Natasha Baker, who heads that office, and her intent to become involved in districts with minority schools. And Benton Harbor is one of about 180 districts, I believe, that has at least one minority school. And so, through whatever happened over here with the state, Natasha Baker has been able to, she's been working on this since I came, to work with Benton Harbor and other districts more directly and require us to do this report called the Terrace Report. I have not seen that report, but I'm told it's extensive in terms of its data collection and the frequency of reporting that we will be required to do to the SRO regarding our schools and their performance. So with all of this history occurring around SROs, where we've landed is that she has been now granted permission to come in, and when she emailed me to me, she requested that our board president accompany me as like a mandate. So Middle City stepped in, and that's the article that I sent to you and said, whoa, districts, be careful, because you might find yourselves in a legal trap. You can't just have your board president go speak on your behalf without the board weighing in. So I purposefully did not select a meeting date until well after our board meeting, and was going to ask that you appoint someone to go with me. I know Mr. Taylor had expressed the willingness when he was presented as the president should go, he's our acting president. But further on the agenda, under item 5, there may be an opportunity that you'll make a change that will fit naturally with this request, and I won't need to make it, but it just depends on the desires of the board. I contacted True, and Tim's strong suggestion was the board, he really advises us to vote someone in to be that person, to accompany me to this SRO meeting, which will be, she's gonna come to us. And it's August 25th at 4:30. And so I'll just need to ask you guys if you so wish to vote next week on who that representative will be, or you may decide to send in your president.
Any questions concerning the SRO?
We've already talked about the real estate plan. It is on here. Just wanted to say to you all that we know we need to do this. I'm going to be emailing the subcommittee. Hopefully they're going to be available next Tuesday before the board meeting, and hopefully they'll be available at 4:30 for us to meet here. So we'll have a good hour, a little bit more to just talk about and start to, if not complete the task of that plan, so that we can present to the board in the September work session what we propose. So I just wanted to let you know you hadn't forgotten that, and to help you know that you're not confused. On the heels of that, Tri-County over Challenger, I sent you correspondence about Tri-County. They were being placed at the kindergarten center. They wanted to purchase the building, if you recall, for a price that was way off the value of the property. Some members of the board had said no way. Our consultant was really concerned about that price. Some of us said, well, you know what? Our prior consultant told me they could have it at that price based on email that I actually saw with Garland Islands, Mr. Johnson secured. Tri-County actually really respects the position we're in as a growing and evolving district, and really that building is our only facility that's in a condition to receive children. If we maintain or get an influx of kids, we really would be in a pickle financially to bring a building up to code. So they were very willing to not do the kindergarten center, and actually said initially they were interested in Boynton, and they're still interested in Boynton. Although on our tour, we talked about what might be a building we want to keep. So through the real estate plan, we need to make some decisions and recommend to the board a building for them to take over. So because of time, their program, their little people, we graciously agreed to work with them, let them stay at the core, on the core in the DEC Center, Discovery Enrichment Center, for this upcoming year, which does leave the administrative center will have to stay where we are for the rest of this year. But this move is very costly, as you're going to see in our county presentations next month. It's going to be very costly, and it might not be a bad thing for us to make just to help take some pressure off our general fund because of the move. So we're going to eventually bring to you an updated contract from them, the $12,000 per year that they paid in rent that we had sustained for them to put the kindergarten center will keep. And we'll just need to change the verbiage so that it doesn't say kindergarten center in the contract.
Any questions? Dream Academy update.
So I wanted to give you an update on Dream. It ties back to the conversation about staffing, and hopefully this will make a little bit more sense than before. At the Dream Academy, I have talked with the staff, want them to join us in professional development. However, we had some struggles. Tim Gardner was negotiating with the landlord of their facility for their property. Just the other day, that's been secured and upon eventually your approval, I'll be bringing it to you. And actually, we may have to either, if we can get everything done, it'll be sent out to you during this week to vote, or I may have to ask you for a special board meeting to do the dream. And we have a couple other items on the curriculum side that we will need your vote on. So we're probably going to need to ask you sometime after the week of the 15th of August to do a special board meeting to take care of a few more items that we'll need in place for school. But we had tremendous difficulty negotiating the facilities contract. We now, this week, Ms. Lovelace will be going along with Mr. Bledsoe over to meet with one of the staff at Dream to inventory the surplus items that are in the facility, because MDE has to decide how they're going to relinquish that to Mid Harbor, through an auction, or we just do a flat out price. So that has to still be worked through. And the third leg of this is staffing. So on Friday of last week, Mrs. Harlow invited all Dream staff to come up, at least get their names in front of us to start checking credentials and certifications. And you all need to know that based on the criteria for a public school administrator, there's a big, big question mark around if the administrator at Dream has the qualifications to be an administrator in Mid Harbor. So as much as we really want to keep everything the same, that's a variable that may not pan out because of something out of our control. So that's why I proposed to you all in this last hour that we have someone in place that has the credentials to support us with this acquisition. The other staff seem to be panning out appropriately, but that one is vital. As I understand, he may be to Dream. We may not have a choice in how we move forward with that position, because if he doesn't meet the requirements, we can't just overcome that. So that's I just wanted you to know that we are working that and doing our best to maintain the integrity of Dream as our commitment to the students first and the families. But we do have to make sure we do everything in compliance. So again, once all these details are worked out, I will come to you with an official proposal for you to vote for us to really truly bring Dream into the fold based on having that criteria.
Any questions? Consent items?
Is Dream open right now for registration?
No. So that's a great question. This is the slippery slope that we are on with Dream. Because we don't officially have them under our wing, we cannot officially open them. So what we've done is we've taken Mr. T. James, who is one of the staff at Dream, who, from all that I could tell, appeared to be kind of that next level of relationship between the communities of Dream and Mid Harbor. And we brought him in through EduStaff as a Mid Harbor employee, because he's somebody that would be wise to try to employ if this doesn't work. By the way, he seems to have a lot of merit. He has a psychology degree. He is not an educator, so the need to meet education requirements is not there. But he's highly involved in Dream and a big part of their community and their staff. So he is actually doing recruiting. We hired him to do recruiting, which we have to do with the consent agreement. Right, trying to find that middle ground. And yet he emailed me today about opening the building and how can we do this, because we don't own the building and we have to be careful, because until we sign on the dotted line, it's not our building. You see the gray area? So we're working it to the best that we can for the good of children. And again, that's why he's out canvassing, going and talking to his families and assuring them that the plan is to open Dream so students don't leave while we're in this transition period.
In the interim, someone reached out to me wanting to enroll their child in Dream. But they should wait.
They can contact us, and we can put them in touch with Mr. James. Absolutely.
So Superintendent, you're going to take the general items as well, right?
The consent, I want to do the consent item.
Consent, I'm sorry.
We're going to do the consent item. The consent item, when you click on it, we have a $500 donation to our athletic department that's been provided. And so, we think that this part of things, I read that, if you read that, so there was
Was that consent item?
the consent item.
I think it's, you can read that.
Okay, I'll do that. Gotcha. So a $500 donation was given to the Benton Harbor Athletic Department, boys football and basketball. And it is from the LECO Corporation for $500. And that's the extent of So we're very thankful for that generous donation.
So I think the next item would be the general item.
Well, at this time, and moving forward, our board president is absent, until further notice. So what the Board of Education will do is to move the district forward and to be, good stewards of our community. We're just going to vote an interim president until our president, returns.
Any questions concerning that item? So no questions. At this time, the Board of Education needs to go into a closed session meeting with Troon Law Firm for personnel matters. So I would like to entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session for personnel matters.
Do I have a second? Lisa, call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Downing?
Yes.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes. time, we'll have comments, so no more president comments, superintendent comments.
I have a couple of things. I just wanted to say publicly how excited I am for our staff who have worked with me. We have built a district year-long calendar, yay! So we finished it yesterday, and I will do some cleaning up in it, et cetera, but we'll get that out to you all, and it'll be nice because you'll be able to see everything that's going on. So I just wanted to share that. I already talked about the debt being approved. Trustee Mitchell talked about the grant for the test, and it's just some really positive things, just remind us of what is going well. I did already mention about requesting a special meeting. I will be in contact with you. We have a couple of items that we may need to ask you to approve before September. Some curriculum items, and I'm drawing a blank because I'm tired of the one I talked about earlier that I said I might bring to a special meeting. I'm drawing a blank and come back to me. I also wanted to make a proposal, and I'll write to you in my comments about, as we look at the structure of the calendar changes, that it might be advantageous to move the subcommittees to the last week of each month, right before the work session. I often find that there are things that come up because we're still organizing and rearranging. You guys have been amazingly gracious, and I thank you so much for your support. But just to try to be more in line with what I know you expect, having the meetings after the board meetings is kind of, like, by that time we haven't even embraced what else we have going. And then we have to try to hold that information and make decisions around it. So I will be writing to you with some suggested dates and times. We can have something on the subcommittees meeting that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the last week of each month, minus the holiday season or whatever. Moving forward. Let me see. Oh, I did write to you and wanted your feedback on the school of the month. You probably done that back then. I really think that's a great way to recognize students. It's a great way to find out what's happening in buildings. It's a great way to get parents out. So I was looking for your feedback. So if you have a chance, just let me know your response to that. And then as you see with the technology, I appreciate the patience and perseverance tonight as we try to move to less paper. I definitely need your feedback, so please, when I have to scan, I need to know advantages, disadvantages, so I can, we can fix that if we can. So moving forward, we can make a good decision on how to do this work. This was just an idea of the Google Docs, but actually it has been written this way versus most platforms, which I was looking at, platforms do cost. So this could be something that we could do to move forward and decrease our paper consumption. And I found, because I put this together, this is very tight, that if I had a copy of all of this versus putting it in the email to you last Friday, for me, it's not going to be time. First of all, it's technological paper copies. This is not good. So, but again, I welcome your feedback. Don't judge us too harshly from tonight. I do hope you allow me to try this again next week with the staff reports. We know now the technology is right. We have some cases. Ruggles and I will communicate it. We'll work some of those out. Give us maybe this week, next week, and then September to see how this goes. Let me know your concerns and your appreciations. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Superintendent. Board comments, Mr. Mitchell?
None this evening.
Ms. McGowan?
None.
Mrs. Maloney?
Of course. Yeah, Johnny and Gina did a fabulous job tonight again, but it was even tougher tonight. But they both jumped in and helped us get the computers going and got us what we needed, and it's truly appreciated. And John, thank you for going by on Sunday and closing window of that elementary school. I appreciate that. We'll call you again next Sunday. Oh, she just needs to
Secretary Gully?
Well, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for staying.
So thanks for your patience. We always want to apologize because we don't want to make you wait, so that's why we put a closed session at the end of the meeting. So if you choose to leave, you can leave, but we have completed the mission, and that would be just to give you everything on the agenda. So with that, meeting adjourned.